guys, it's time for another bedtime story. Now, I know it's a little early for a lot of us to go to sleep, although the Brits might already be asleep, but I just got in from dinner and I kind of want to take off the makeup and stuff, and then I won't be made up for another 4 or 5 days, because that only happens rarely. So tonight's bedtime story comes from Love and Let Die. No, not Love and Let Die. We already did that one. Love Another Day. It's hard when they kind of go together. Okay, I am not going to do Brody's Australian accent because my Australian accent is horrible and it sounds like I'm stuck in Crocodile Dundee. So just hear the hot Aussie accent. Here we go. He told me he was going to kill you and that boyfriend of yours if he didn't get what he wanted. Brody felt the lift moving beneath his feet. Boyfriend? Steph asked, her face clouded with obvious confusion. Had she hit her head at some point? He's very concerned about your boyfriend. Has the whole team working on the issue. Tucker couldn't seem to get off the subject. They were going to have a long talk about what it meant to back a partner up. You know, the one named Nathan. We don't have a last name. Could you supply us with one? Oh, by the way, Nathan is one of the Lost Boys, so he's kind of kooky. Her eyes went wide, and for a moment he thought she might pass out again. Oh, that's not her boyfriend, Sadie began. How can you not? Steph shook her head, cutting Sadie off. He is no one you should concern yourself with. Her voice had gone so cold. Her body had stiffened, and he knew they were going to fight it out over the new guy. Was she in love with him? It seemed like yesterday that she'd been all over him, and now she'd given her heart to some other guy. And yet I'm going to concern myself with him, he replied just as coldly. Let me down right now, Brody, or I swear you'll walk into that office with me screaming my head off. He wanted to argue with her, but he knew that look. She was sweet 99% of the time, but when she got truly angry, it was a sight to behold. He eased her down. Look, I know you have reason to be angry with me, but we're going to talk, you and I, and whatever boyfriend you've dragged along is definitely my concern. She shook her head. You don't even remember his name. Of course I do. It's Nate. He wasn't sure how to handle her. The anger pouring off her seemed a bit much. Was she truly so angry that he hadn't returned her phone calls? He had a lot of making up to do. He tamped down his own irritation. He needed to be calm with her. He was the one who had transgressed. She was the one in the right. Oh, he definitely knows the man is named Nate because he's had everyone in the Lenda's office looking into him, Tucker replied. A last name would be really helpful. Steph looked back at the lad. His last name is Fuck Off. An odd name, Tucker mused. Does he know that his name is also a curse? Does this get him into trouble? We have to choose last names soon, and I think Fuck Off would work well for several of my brothers. It would be fitting for them. Ignore him, Brody said. Steph, I know I've been stubborn, but I had my reasons. I'd like to explain it to you. Why don't we sit down somewhere and talk for a bit? The doors opened. Steph strode out. Why don't you head straight back to London? I don't need you, and neither does Nate. Sadie turned to him as well, her face flushed and eyes flashing. You should be happy I don't have the rest of that coffee, because I might be tempted to use it on you, sir. You are a jerk. He stood and watched the women stomp down the hallway toward the big glass doors that led to the lobby of McKay Taggart. I'm glad I didn't make headway with the redhead, Tucker said with a nod. She seems very violent. I'm really looking for more of a non-violent female. Good luck. Brody followed the women out into the hall. You won't find any of those here. Steph strode in, and he realized if he didn't catch up to her, she might lock herself up in in an office with that boy toy of hers and refuse to come out. He walked in, stalking her like a predator. She would find out that she couldn't lose him. Yes, he was tired and cranky, but they were going to have that conversation, and she would see he meant to do things right this time. They'd lost a year, but he could summon up some charm. He could make her see that he was ready to really try with her. He could soften her heart. He knew he could. Steph, we need to go to the conference room. We have to get everything get everything you can remember down on paper. I need to know every single thing he said to you, everything you can recall about what he looked like," he called out. She turned down the hall that most certainly did not go to the conference room. Sadie settled in behind her desk. "I'll call everyone in. Ian's in a meeting, but he'll be thrilled we nearly got murdered because it means he can cut it short. For a man who makes his money off corporate clients, he really hates them. And get Adam on pulling the CCTV footage. He wanted a face. If he had a face, he would be one step closer to a name." "Steph, I'm not joking. Come on, this is serious." She merely kept walking, her right arm up in the air and middle finger extended. "That's very rude," Tucker commented. "At least that's what everyone tells us when we use that gesture. I thought it was comical in all the movies I've seen it used in." Steph turned and walked through the door, disappearing from sight. Here it was, the moment he'd been dreading. He was going to meet the competition, the younger, likely less scarred rival who would apparently like to flirt with other women when his girlfriend wasn't around. There wasn't anything else to do but get the damn introductions over and let the young man know what he thought about how he took care of his girl. He stopped at the doorway, realizing where she'd gone. Brody stopped because she wasn't walking into one of the offices or even the break room. She walked into the large conference room they'd turned into a nursery. He found himself standing on the threshold of a room covered in toys and cribs. Two girls who looked an awful lot like Charlotte Taggart were sitting at a tiny table coloring. A couple of toddler boys were giggling and pushing toy cars along the floor. There was a nursery worker with a tiny baby in her arms, rocking in a rocking chair while she patted the baby's back, and Phoebe Murdoch sat next to her, a blanket covering her while she breastfed her infant. And Steph was standing over a crib. "He's been such a sweetheart," the second of the nursery workers was saying. "He just woke up and he didn't fuss at all. He's probably ready for a bottle, though. He's been trying to eat his own foot. Are you okay? Something happened to your shirt." He felt like his feet were nailed to the floor, like he couldn't move at all. What was going on? Why was she here? The answer played around in his head and made him feel the tiniest bit ill. Or a lot queasy. Yeah, it was more like a lot. "It's nothing to worry about. I'm fine. I just need to see him," she said as she leaned over and picked up whatever was in the crib. A baby. A freaking baby was in the crib, his inner voice was screaming. "A baby!" She lifted the baby up. A big baby. A big boy baby. He was wearing one of those blue shirt things mums put their infants in. It snapped together under his diaper. He had white socks on his pudgy baby feet. Brody had seen that child before. He'd seen him in pictures at his home, in pictures his mom had kept on the wall. "Nate?" His voice sounded tiny to his ears. She turned and rolled her eyes. "Yes, I believed I told you in the voicemails I left that I was naming him Nathan Avery." Her voicemails. The ones he hadn't listened to. The ones he callously deleted so he wouldn't be tempted by her. The voicemails where she told him she was having their child. Brody? You just went super white," Tucker pointed out. "It is not a good look on you. You okay?" "Nope, not at all." He felt lightheaded, and he couldn't quite make his feet move. What had he done? Did I miss the big reveal? Adam Miles showed up, a can of soda in his hand. Damn it! I wanted some popcorn to go with this show. "Yeah, that's your son, you dumbass." "Whoa, I take it back. Do you need sugar or something?" The world spun, and Brody felt himself falling right on Adam Miles. He heard Steph cursing, but he was the one passing out this time. The world blanked out, and he found momentary peace. So that's what happens when you don't answer your voicemails. You find out somebody had your baby. Yeah. Okay, well, good night all. I hope you enjoyed that. I will see you sometime next week for another bedtime story.